What if your customers are trying to find your business online, but instead of finding you, they find your competitors? Now, more than ever, it's time to make sure you have the right SEO to make your business stand out online. Welcome to Go Mind Your Business with Terri Bork, presented by Extreme Marketing Concepts, putting your business in front of the hungry herd of buyers who are looking for you right now. Extreme Marketing Concepts, helping you drive more traffic, dominate the market, and crush your competition. And now, here's Terri.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Go Mind Your Business. My name is Terri Bork with Extreme Marketing Concepts, and I am so excited to be with you today. I have an amazing guest, Dr. Ivan Misner. Welcome to our show.
To be on the show.
Great. It's great to have you here. I am so excited to share all about BNI with our audience today and all the benefits of BNI and a lot about you. So I just want to take a quick moment to introduce you, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Great.
Perfect. So Dr. Ivan Misner is the founder and chairman of BNI, the world's largest networking organization. BNI was founded in 1985, and the organization now has 6,300 chapters throughout every populated continent of the world. Last year alone, BNI generated 7.1 million referrals, resulting in over $3.3 billion worth of business for its members. Dr. Misner's Ph.D. is from the University of South California. He's a New York Times Bestselling author who has written 17 books, including his latest book called Room Full of Referrals. He's a monthly columnist for Entrepreneur.com and Fox Business News, and has taught business management at several universities throughout the United States. In addition, he's a senior partner for the Referral Institute, a referral training company with trainers around the world. Called the father of modern networking by CNN and networking guru by Entrepreneur magazine, Dr. Misner is considered to be one of the world's leading experts on business networking and has been a keynote speaker for major corporations and associations throughout the world. He has been featured in the LA Times, Wall Street Journal, and New York Times, as well as numerous TV and radio shows, including CNN, the BBC, and the Today Show on NBC. Dr. Misner is on the board of trustees for the University of Laverne, and he's also the founder of the BNI Misner Charitable Foundation and was recently named Humanitarian of the Year by the Red Cross. He's married, and he lives with his wife Elizabeth and their 3 children in Claremont, California. And in his spare time, he's an amateur magician and a black belt in karate. So again, Ivan, welcome to our show.
Thank you. It's great to be on the show.
Yeah. So, I just want to go back a little bit to the beginning and ask you, what got you into the networking arena to begin with?
Well, I'd like to tell you that I had this vision of an international organization with groups all over the world. We now have 6,300 of them. Mm-hmm. But the truth is, I was looking for some referrals. I was looking for some referrals for my consulting business. My doctoral work is in organizational behavior, and I helped people in their strategic planning and personnel policy procedure manuals, those kinds of things. I was looking for some referrals. I put together some people I trusted. They trusted me. We agreed that we would refer each other. And the thing just snowballed. We ended up opening 20 groups the first year by accident. Mm-hmm. And it was at that point that I realized I had struck a chord in the business community, and then sat down and created a plan to actually develop the organization. As you mentioned, we're now in over 50 countries all around the world. We just hit our 150,000th member yesterday.
Wow, 150,000. That's fantastic.
Yeah, worldwide.
That's amazing. Have you found there, when you were trying to establish yourself in the very beginning, did you find it very difficult to do to get started, or is it something that just kind of came naturally for you?
Did I find it difficult to what? Network?
Get started, establish yourself with your business.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, it's when you're starting a new business, there are a lot of challenges. Name recognition was probably the biggest. Nobody knew who I was. I was also fairly young. When I started my consulting business, I was about 27. And that's pretty young to be a business consultant. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing I had to deal with was nobody knew who I was. The second thing that I had to deal with was I didn't have enough gray hair to be a business consultant. I've solved that problem now, but there were just a number of things that made it difficult. But the one thing I discovered was that if people got to know me and could see what I was capable of doing, they would refer me. And so it was really about building those relationships. And it was from that process that BNI was born.
Right. Okay. Terrific. Thank you. Do you think there's any business that works better than any other in BNI, or do you think they're all about equal?
I used to give a different answer than I do now. With more of the gray hair, you get a little bit more experience. And sure. I used to say that, yeah, the profession was reasonably important. Now I think it's really secondary. It's more about people than it is about profession. There are some people in professions that I would have never, ever guessed would work, who do great. There are other people in professions that someone's got to be brain dead to not get business, and they don't. Mm-hmm. And so, I used to say, yeah, the profession is really important, but not anymore. It's really about the person and their commitment to understanding how to build a powerful personal network and their willingness to do so. For example, one of the professions that I even told the guy, I'm not sure I'd recommend you join. He sold commercial light bulbs. Mm-hmm. Commercial light bulbs. Right. So you couldn't even give him a Mercy referral and buy some light bulbs for your house because they wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. They were those, big, giant halogen light bulbs that could only work in commercial buildings. And I said to him, I don't have anybody who sells commercial light bulbs. I'm not sure this will work for you. And long story short, he said he was going to do it anyway. I showed up in his region about a year later, and he stood up to introduce me. He asked the director if he could introduce me. And he stood up and he said, Ivan tried to talk me out of joining last year, but I want you to know that 40% of all of the business that I got in the last 90 days came out of BNI, and I won the sales contest for the first time in my life, sold more commercial light bulbs than I've ever sold, and it came out of BNI, and he tried to stop me from joining. Mm-hmm. So after that, I stopped telling people that the profession isn't right. Yet in the same group, there was a printer who couldn't get business. Mm-hmm. Something was wrong there.
Right. Now, do you think that was because, I know BNI has a great process, a process that works called the VCP process. Can you share with our listeners a little bit more about the VCP process and walk us through that a little bit?
Sure. VCP is the foundation of everything I teach. If someone doesn't get VCP right, nothing else they do really matters. It won't work. VCP stands for visibility, credibility, profitability. And it's a chronological process. You have to go from visibility to credibility and then to profitability. Visibility is where people know who you are and they know what you do. Credibility is where people know who you are, they know what you do, and they know you're good at it. Profitability is where people know who you are, they know what you do, they know you're good at it, and they're willing to pass you referrals on an ongoing reciprocal basis. Where networking goes completely off the rails is when somebody meets someone else and they say, hi, Terri, I'm Ivan. We should be doing business. Or maybe here's 3 of my cards. Could you refer me to some of your business associates? And by the way, we call that in the book I wrote with my co-authors, Frank Draftley and Hazel Walker, we call that premature solicitation.
Okay.
Which you don't want to say fast 3 times. You'll get in trouble.
Yes.
That was in the book Business, Networking, and Sex, Not What You Think, which was about the difference between men and women. We call that premature solicitation because you meet somebody for the first time and they're trying to sell you instead of get to know you. And that doesn't work as a process. It doesn't work at all. And so you have to understand the VCP process and build relationships with people, not use networking as a face-to-face cold calling opportunity.
Absolutely. Which brings me to, I love the fact that BNI is there and they are a networking organization built on relationships, because I can't imagine ever doing a cold call again.
I had a BNI member a couple of years ago say to me, this is such a great story. She said, I was thinking about stepping down. I'd been a member for almost 10 years. I thought I'd gotten, most of the business I could get from the group. And I was thinking about, stepping down. But before I did, I sat down and I thought, first of all, what percentage of business am I getting from BNI? It was a huge percentage. And secondly, how did I used to get my business? And she realized that she used to get it through cold calling. Mm-hmm. And she looked at how much business she was now getting from BNI. So she said, you know what I did to make sure that I didn't think about leaving again? I said, what'd you do? She said, I now have booked in my calendar on the last Friday morning of every month to go out and do 3 hours of cold calling just to remind myself why I need to stay in BNI.
Mm-hmm. That's an outstanding story. Yeah, absolutely. I know you just got back from a worldwide tour. Tell us a little bit about some of the experiences that you had abroad.
Yeah, well, I go to a number of countries every year. This year I've been to Sweden, mm-hmm. Denmark, Poland. In about a month, I'm headed to Dubai, United Arab Emirates, and then Ireland and the United Kingdom, all for BNI. One of the things that I found is that people always look for how they're different, mm-hmm. And the cultural differences. And there are definitely cultural differences. But what we forget about is our similarities. And I think entrepreneurs worldwide, they have there's a cultural similarity between all entrepreneurs worldwide. We all want to do business based on trust. Mm-hmm. There is no entrepreneurial nation in the world that doesn't believe that trust is critical in giving referrals. So that transcends our cultural differences. And if you were to go to a networking meeting for BNI in Stockholm, it's no different than in the United States. I went to a meeting, the first time I ever saw a BNI meeting in a different language was in Stockholm. Mm-hmm. And, Swedish you can't understand it, right? I mean, it's not like French where you pick up a word or two, or Spanish. I grew up in Southern California, so you know a little Spanish. Swedish sounds like, I mean, you can't understand a word, right? So I'm watching this entire meeting in Swedish. One of the BNI members leans over to me and says, you have no idea what he's talking about, do you? I said, yeah, he's introducing the referral part of the meeting. He's explaining how a referral works, and if you don't have a referral, give a testimonial. He says, wow, you know Swedish? I said, no, I wrote the agenda.
There you go.
And that's what happens at that part of the agenda. And my point is that even though there are so many cultural differences all around the world, we all want to do business with one another based on trust. And what we try to do in BNI is create a situation where people get to know each other, trust each other, get through the VCPE process to profitability, and then do business with one another.
That's great. And I think one of the things that makes BNI successful for me as a member is the fact that the meetings follow an agenda and they're consistent no matter where I go for a meeting. I think it really helps.
People don't, in the long run, successful people don't want to go to a coffee klatch. Mm-hmm. They want to do business. And so on one hand, some people say, it's too structured. I hear that. I disagree with that. I think you need that kind of structure to maintain accountability and consistency. So some people say, yeah, that's not for me. And I'm okay with that because BNI is not for everyone. BNI is for people who are really serious about generating referral business. And based on results, it works pretty well. Last year, I think you mentioned it in my intro, we passed 7.1 million referrals, 3.3 billion, that's with a B.
Yes.
$3.3 billion worth of business for our members all around the world. Now, just so you know, Terri, 3.3 billion is the same as the gross domestic product for the country of Liechtenstein.
Really? Wow. That's great.
Okay,
and I've been to Liechtenstein.
Small country,
yes,
I know.
It's a small country.
But how cool is that we as an organization could generate as much business as a small nation in the world? Sure, I'm looking for a bigger nation next year, but I still think it's impressive.
Right. Well, that's a big goal for you for the years to come, right?
That's my goal.
There you go. Perfect. I'd like to stop for a quick second and share some questions from fellow BNI members around the country. We've had a contest here at Go Mind Your Business, and I asked them to submit questions to you. And one of the winners from our program today is going to win an opportunity for them to have a a show with us here at Go Mind Your Business, and I'd like to share some of those with you and then announce
Absolutely.
who our winner is going to be. I know they're excited for that as well. In the meantime, we are speaking with Dr. Ivan Misner. He is the founder of BNI. BNI is the largest networking organization in the world. And if you are looking to grow your business, you can go to www.bni, Business Network International, BNI.com, and find a local chapter for you and go take a visit and see how BNI can benefit your business for growth. Okay, so our first question is from a lady named Terri Morrow. Terri is an HR benefit and payroll consultant. Her company name is called My Benefit Partners, LLC, and she's with the BNI Platinum chapter in Lutz, Florida. Ivan, her question is, do you think nonprofit organizations could benefit from BNI memberships and the educational opportunities that are available?
Absolutely, positively, unequivocally. Nonprofits can benefit and do benefit in BNI just like any other organization. And I think nonprofits benefit in most organizations like a Chamber of Commerce or a service club like Rotary, Lions, Kiwanis. The problem is that nonprofits haven't been trained. I mean, we think as business professionals, we haven't been trained to generate referrals. It's worse for nonprofits because they haven't even gotten training in sales or marketing. Yeah, they've got some training in development, but the development field, having sat on many boards for nonprofit organizations, the development field is a moving target. It's changing. And so I think a lot of people that are in nonprofit organizations have had training about service work, social work, the expertise of that particular nonprofit, not about sales, marketing, referral development, even less than entrepreneurs. So there's, I think, a lack of education in that area that they need it as much as we as entrepreneurs do, but they have less training in that field. So yes, it's absolutely important, but they've got to work the VCP process. You can't come in and expect to get people to donate money to you when you see them a couple of times.
I got
Make
that.
sense?
Yes, absolutely. Great advice for Terri Morrow and her organization.
Yeah, I don't know what organization she's with, but nonprofits are really, I think, valuable. And I've been active in nonprofit organizations, both donating my time, starting as a young 20-something-year-old with Big Brothers to now being on the board of trustees at the University of Laverne. I think as entrepreneurs, people who are listening, as an entrepreneur, you should participate in those nonprofit organizations because you have a chance to sort of rub elbows with other movers and shakers in the community. And it's a great way to meet other successful business professionals and at the same time, support the community.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, our next question is from Don Vander Kooi. He is a video production specialist from Above the Line Studios, LLC. His chapter is Port City Professionals from Muskegon, Michigan. And Ivan, Don's question is, with the launch of BNI Connect, what advice do you give BNI members looking to expand their contact sphere without growing too rapidly?
Yeah, I listen, BNI Connect, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, is an online program exclusively for BNI members. It's a walled garden community, so you have to be a BNI member in order to participate. The first thing that you want to do in terms of using BNI Connect, if you're a BNI member, is you got to complete your profile. So it would be sort of like not completing your profile, saying who you are, your website, your photograph, your logo, all of that. It's sort of like taking a half-page ad out in the newspaper and leaving it blank. Who would spend money and then leave it blank? So you, as a member, have a chance to do business with members all around the world, but it won't help you if you don't complete your profile. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Sure. This was in our newsletter, bnisuccessnet.com. A member in the state of Washington had a client, a really good client, who was looking for a referral for a photographer in New York. And they asked him, do you know any photographers in New York? We know you're part of this networking group. Do you know any photographers in New York? He said, I don't, but I can get you one. Give me just 24 hours. I'll get you a name of somebody who I believe will be good. And so he got on BNI Connect, got all of the photographers in New York, looked at their profiles. Half of them, didn't have a profile completed. Half. He threw those out. He looked at the other half. Half of those, 1/4 total, had no photograph.
Wow.
Okay, so a photographer without a photograph, he's like, they're out. That left about 1/4 left. He went through those profiles in detail, found one that was perfect, called her, spoke to her. He said, yes, I'm going to refer you. My client that I've been talking about is Microsoft Corporate.
Wow.
Yeah, she got the gig. She got the job, and she did such a good job, they're going to do more work with her as well. And the reason she was considered was she completed her profile. Now, how does this apply to people who aren't in BNI? If you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Sun Tzu, new site out of Europe, or Xing, Xing, whatever, Facebook, whatever social media you're on, you've got to start with completing the profile. If you don't do that, nothing else will likely happen for you.
Right. You know, it's very basic and very simple, but it's so very vital.
And it's particularly true in an organization like BNI, where it's all about referrals and getting to know one another. And if you don't have the basics down, you're never going to get to second base.
Perfect. Okay. I'm going to take one more from Mark Burleson. Mark is with MCT Credit Union, a financial institution. He's with Southeast Texas Networkers in Beaumont, Texas. And his question, Ivan, is, how are you identifying, engaging, and empowering your employees to help distinguish your business from the competition, and how are you retaining them?
Yeah, now is he referring to, he says, how are you? Is he referring to participants in BNI?
I think he's referring to participants in BNI. Or is he referring
to headquarters of BNI?
I'm going to go with he's referring to BNI. How is BNI identifying, engaging, and empowering their employees, or his employees, to distinguish the business from their competition, and then retaining them?
Okay, so you're talking about member employees.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Listen, I think that if you're talking about the employees that you have working for you, it's really important to engage them by inviting them to a chapter meeting, not necessarily as a, quote unquote visitor, but as a employee to see what's going on at BNI. I've seen this happen all the time, where somebody will bring in their employee. Now, this sort of this concept of BNI that employees have, they don't fully understand it, right? They know that the boss goes to this BNI thing every week, but they don't know exactly what it is. They see him carrying this card file around. It gets real when they actually attend a meeting. And if you're smart as a boss, you bring in your employees to show them a meeting, to have them meet people face to face, so that there's a real, true connection. And companies who do that end up generating more referrals than the average company, because they get this spin-off sales force, their employees, who then are able to give referrals to the boss who's coming to the meetings. So bring your employees to the meetings. Train your employees on basic networking skills. My wife, I met Elizabeth in BNI. It was the best referral I ever got. It happened because her boss gave her permission to take time off during the day to go to networking events. Her boss sent her to networking events, did a little bit of training on how to network effectively. So here was an employee whose time was partially dedicated to business development. So we have to be willing to send out our employees to do those kinds of things. You want to track them, make sure they're doing those, they're actually working it. But I think the more employees you get engaged in the process, the more successful they're going to be.
That's phenomenal advice. And it creates a culture in your office of thinking about referrals and how you can help other people so that your own company can grow.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. Okay. We are speaking with Dr. Ivan Misner, the founder of BNI. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back after this message. Okay, here's the idea. Have you ever had a press conference? If you're like most businesses, probably not. Well, isn't it time you did? That's what Go Mind Your Business is all about. Hello, everyone. I'm Terri Bork of Extreme Marketing Concepts, and you can join me on our web TV show positioned as your very own press conference. Over the course of an hour, I'll interview you and guide our listeners and viewers through your business. It takes minding your business to a whole new level. And while we're at it, you'll be able to drive more traffic, crush your competition, and dominate your market like never before. So contact me today at 813-863-1452 to book your press conference now. I'll see you on the show. Until next time, go mind your business. And we are back here at Go Mind Your Business. My name is Terri Bork. I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Extreme Marketing Concepts. My very, very special guest today is Dr. Ivan Misner, founder of BNI. If you would like some more information about BNI and how it can help you grow your business, kindly visit them online at www.bni.com. You'll be able to find some chapters in your area that you'll be able to go and look at and learn on how you can grow your business. We're currently speaking with Dr. Misner about some questions from fellow BNI members on how they can benefit most from their BNI membership. Dr. Misner, I want to continue. We have another question from Drew Volk. He is with Remax Realtech Group, which is real estate sales. He is with the Referral Net chapter in Palm Harbor. And his question, Ivan, is how can he train his referral sources, chamber members, and BNI members on how to invite guests so they meet the goals of at least one visitor per member per month?
Yeah, I think the best way to invite people into the organization and really into any network, not just BNI, is to make it a little bit more exclusive feeling. What tends to happen is that people almost beg someone to come to a networking meeting. Oh, you've got to come to this networking group. You're going to get a lot of business. And people are like, convince me. Particularly with BNI, you don't need to convince anyone. You're doing them a favor by inviting them into BNI. They're not doing you a favor by coming. So my advice is to say, and then to do this, not just say it, but to start by saying, pick a profession that you're looking for. Let's say you want a bank. We're interviewing bankers in the area. I'm part of a referral group. We get together regularly. We pass each other referrals. We're interviewing bankers to find one of the better bankers in the area to give all of our referrals to. I think you might make a good candidate. Now, that's a whole different approach. That flips the whole invitation thing on its head from, oh, you got to come to this, you're really going to do well, to, hey, we'll consider you as a candidate. Well, entrepreneurs and salespeople hate not being picked. They want to be picked. And so if the subtext of that approach is, come, we'll check you out, see if if you're a good fit, but we might not pick you. I think that's a much better approach to building a powerful personal network than trying to talk somebody into doing something. That's the way I would recommend you invite people into any network. We're interviewing.
What great advice for Drew and for all members of BNI. I know that sometimes chapters struggle with how to properly grow, so that's a great slant on a way to invite.
Yeah, and growth is there. It's important. A certain size chapter is very important.
Absolutely, I agree. Let's see. Our next question is from Jarrett Pace. Jarrett is with Aflac, which is a supplemental insurance company. His chapter is BNI Signature from Buffalo, New York. And his question, Ivan, is with the second highest brand recognition in the country behind Coca-Cola, and a product most would consider to be a no-brainer to have, why would a company like Aflac feel such a need to be in a highly active chapter like BNI?
First of all, I'm an Aflac client.
Mm-hmm.
So I've used Aflac for many years, more than a decade. Aflac's a great organization, and Aflac is very active in BNI. Obviously, he's a member, but we have many, many members. And I think anyone, there was a comparison to Coca-Cola in that question. I think, Coca-Cola is a consumer product that theoretically virtually 100% of the population would need it or not need it, but want it. Whereas Aflac is a little bit more targeted than that. For example, children wouldn't even know what it is. They'd have no idea. And so 100% of the population is not likely to buy the Aflac product. So it's a little bit more targeted. And I think that's why you see Aflac involved in networking groups like BNI and Coca-Cola not. Coca-Cola builds a lot of its business through advertising. Mm-hmm. Aflac gets a fair amount of its business in terms of brand recognition from advertising, but my guess is that the majority of sales take place from the individual. Mm-hmm. So they build brand recognition through their advertising, but they close sales by meeting face-to-face with people and explaining in more detail how the Aflac product works. That's how I took on Aflac as Aflac is a BNI headquarters as a client.
Okay.
So I think it's that face-to-face is critical in some businesses, particularly insurance.
Got it. Okay. Our last question is from Sandra Knuckles. I'm not quite sure where she's from. She didn't indicate, but her question was, do you think humor is the best medicine for presenting BNI to new possible members?
Listen, I love humor. I haven't heard a technique to invite people that was funny that I've used, but I wouldn't say it's a bad idea. Mm-hmm. I guess I'd have to hear what is it really? Mm-hmm. For me, the we're interviewing technique is the best way to invite people to any network.
Got it. Okay. Is there a recommended number of referral groups that you think members should be involved with other than BNI to be effective with networking with other individuals?
Yeah, I believe that probably 3 or 4 networks are what you want to participate in terms of face-to-face networks, at least 3, and that they should cover different streams of your networking efforts. So here are 3 or 4 streams and I talk about streams of networking in a book I wrote called Networking Like a Pro. One would be casual contact networks like a chamber of commerce. Mm-hmm. Another would be a strong contact network. Casual contact networks let many people from many professions. Strong contact network, 1 person per profession. That's BNI. Service clubs like Rotary Lions, Kiwanis. So there's 3 different types of networks. I'd recommend that people participate in at least one of those. 1 strong contact, 1 casual contact, 1 service club. You don't want to participate in 3 of each or 3 of one because you're having the same kind of contacts. So diversify your networks. Online social networks, I'm a believer. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Now there you can participate in more than one, but you got to limit. You only have so much time. So I would pick a couple that are your primary online. So those are some of the things that I recommend. Diversify your networks. Be in a few different kinds. Probably 3, just based on time. 3, no more than 4, and you'll be spending plenty of time. In the gender book, Business Networking and Sex, we asked, how much time do you spend networking? We found that the average was 6.5 hours. Mm-hmm. Average. Now, if you're a listener to this, how many of you want to be average?
Right.
Most business people don't want to be average. We found that the real optimum number was about 8 hours a week. Mm-hmm. The people who were spending 8 hours a week were getting substantially more of business through referrals than those under that. So we recommend at least 8 hours. 3 groups plus social media, that is easy, plus one-to-ones that you might do with people. You can take 8 hours that way.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, I want to shift a little bit, Ivan, if we could, and talk about some of the things that you're up to right now. I know that you have some book projects going on, one with Stuart Emery and one with Jack Canfield. can you share a little bit about what these books are about?
Sure. And if you're watching this, you can get more information by going to my blog. Tons of content up on my blog, businessnetworking.com, businessnetworking.com. And I have videos with both Jack and Stuart there. Jack and I are doing a book on networking. It's a compilation book like Jack's Chicken Soup for the Soul series, which has sold 500 million copies now, 500 million copies. So Jack and I are doing a book. We don't have a title yet, but it's about networking, and we're taking contributing authors. So if you've got a great networking story, we're accepting contributions. Go to submityournetworkingstory.com. Submityournetworkingstory.com, and you may be in a book with Jack Canfield and I. And it's and we describe in there what we're looking for contributions. The other book is with Stuart Emery that I'm working on. He's doing a book called Who's in Your Room, and we're doing a networking version of it. The concept there is, if you lived your life in only one room and there was only one door, and the door was an enter-only door, so that when you let people into your room, they would never leave. Would you be more selective about who you let in your room? I've asked this question of thousands of business people, and every person says, oh yeah, I'd be a lot more selective. Well, why wait until that happens and you've got to get somebody out? And by in your room, we mean who do you let into your life? Who do you let get close to you? And so the whole book is talking about how you got to screen better as to who comes into your room. And that's really powerful for a network. Networks have to screen who they let close to them, who they let in their network. Because if you let someone in who doesn't do a good job, it's very difficult to get them out of the network. And so it's an interesting concept. It's Stuart's concept, and I'm doing a version of the book with him specifically for networking.
Great. And these books, you're expecting them to come out, 2014?
Yeah, probably 2014, 2015.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Any other big projects on the horizon for you?
Well, the books are piling up. I actually have a couple of other books that I'm working on, and I do the books because we don't teach this in colleges and universities anywhere in the world, and so the idea is to try to teach entrepreneurs how to do this more effectively, and honestly, to do more interviews like this. This is where my passion is, and so I'm doing things that help to get the word out to the world as to how to network effectively. And so the book projects are my biggest thing at this time.
Oh, that's great. And again, I remind our audience once again, to submit your best networking story, to submit to network.
Submityournetworkingstory.com.
That's it. Submityournetworkingstory.com. You want to get that in right away so you can be considered for the book with Jack Canfield. That's outstanding. Wanted to share with our audience who our winner is here at Go Mind Your Business for the best question. And that would be from Mark Burleson from MCT Credit Union in Texas. He had the question about engaging his employees so that he could grow a nice culture there. So congratulations to him for that. Ivan, I did want to ask you, suggestions to BNI members to help them get the most out of their membership every single year and help them be more successful.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. One is education. I find that members who immerse and engage in a culture of learning tend to be much more successful than those who don't. And not only you as an individual, but your chapter. You want to engage your chapter in the process. It's kind of like having a football team and only 3 or 4 of the players go to practice, or only 3 or 4 of the players read the playbook. If the rest of your team doesn't know the plays, then the entire team's not going to be successful. So the more you can immerse your chapter in a culture of learning, the more successful the chapter will be. Well, how do you do that? Get them engaged in interviews like this. Have your members in a chapter listen to this. Have the participants, and this isn't just BNI, any network, have the participants listen to materials that are available. Like in BNI, we have bnipodcast.com. bnipodcast.com. They're 10, 12-minute podcasts with me talking as though I'm talking to members. Get your chapter engaged in listening to those, and then have a dialogue about the content. Our blog, our newsletter, there's so much educational content. The more you can get members engaged in it, the more successful they'll be. So education. The second is accountability. You've got to hold each other accountable. One of the strengths of a network is that most of the members are friends. One of the weaknesses of a network is that most of the members are friends.
Right.
Friends don't like holding friends accountable, but you got to have accountability if you want to get results. And so, expect the best out of your members and you'll get it. Expect less than the best and you'll get it.
That makes a lot of sense. And, that helps with chapter size too. I think once you start to grow your chapters and get more members into your chapter and you have that air of passing referrals and continuing to grow your chapter, you get everybody involved, stuff starts happening, it's not
Right.
stale. And then, your chapter can just take off and you'll find just so much success there.
Yeah, I did an article this month in our online newsletter, bnisuccessnet.com. Go to my article. It's 3+1 equals member success.
Correct.
And it talks about chapter size, the size of your network. And there's a mathematical reason why larger groups generate a lot more business. And here's the reason. I call it the squared connection effect. If you have a network of 16 people, you have 256 connections. Okay? Each person connected to every other person in the group. However, if you have a group of 32 members, you have 1,024 connections. You double your size as a group, you quadruple the amount of connections that you have, and that doesn't even count the connections of the connections.
Correct.
So it gets much larger. I call it the squared connection effect. Take a look at that article if you're listening to this, and you'll see a visual diagram of it, and it's really impressive. That's the reason why a certain size group actually generates a lot more business than a smaller group.
Right. And when you're going around the tables, in our chapter, we call it a rainbow, based on referral slips and various slips that we have in our organization. Everybody gets excited when they see that somebody has a slip of every color, a rainbow, if you will.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
It's really fun. And everybody tries to put in a rainbow every single week because nobody wants to not share, or give a testimonial. Everybody wants to share and have a rainbow. So it's great. It's a nice feeling within the chapter. And I think that motivates the chapter too. If they see everybody else doing something and they're not maybe pulling their weight, then they want to try harder next time.
I think you're right. I agree.
Yeah. And I know that BNI has been very helpful for me, as has Referral Institute, which I've received my certified networker through Referral Institute. That's our education program down here, in addition to what we do through our chapter itself and our E-Squared programs. So Referral Institute, can you share a little bit with our audience, a little bit more about Referral Institute?
Yeah, I started the Referral Institute a few years back. It is a training company. People often ask, what's the difference between BNI and the Referral Institute? Here's the simplest explanation. The Referral Institute is the game plan. That's where you really create the strategies for generating referral business. BNI is the playing field. So Referral Institute is the game plan. BNI is the playing field. And the Referral Institute is all about going deep and doing seminars, training, teaching people how to generate referrals, not only through a network like BNI, but also from your clients, also from friends and associates. So it's a broader concept that goes deep in terms of teaching people how to network. As I mentioned before, we don't teach this in colleges and universities anywhere in the world.
Right.
I have a theory as to why we don't teach it. You want to hear?
Sure.
Okay. Are any of your audience full-time tenured professors?
I don't believe so.
Okay, good. Then I'll tell you. So here's the deal. I've taught at universities for 19 years. I'm on the board for a university. Here's my theory. Most full-time tenured professors have never had a real job in their life. They only teach.
Right.
And it's full-time tenured professors that control the curriculum. When I was an adjunct faculty, I had no control over the curriculum, none. Only full-time tenured professors. And they've never run a business, and they don't know how critical networking is. It's one of the reasons why we don't have sales as a course in universities.
Right.
Closing techniques. Is that crazy or what? Very few universities have that. And the reason for it is that most professors don't want to get their hands dirty and make a sale. They'll teach advertising, they'll teach marketing, PR, social media, but that isn't getting face-to-face and closing a deal. They don't understand how critical it is for small business people, and that's why we don't teach it. So I created the Referral Institute to fill that gap, to teach business people how to generate referrals.
Excellent. And it's very helpful to me. And, you can take that class again and again and again, and there's so much amazing information in there that I think you pick up a different thing every single time you go through it.
And I'll tell you, the Referral Institute team, if anyone's interested, referalinstitute.com, the Referral Institute team has done an amazing job with my material. I created, a block of material, and they have just taken it to the next level. I sat through a certified networker training, one of the modules, and I was like, wow, you guys have done an amazing job with taking my content and really making it practical for business people to generate referral business.
Great. Okay. Well, we're coming just about to the end of our time today, Ivan. Is there anything that we have not discussed today that you'd want to make sure that we go over?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things I've learned in the last almost 30 years, over 28 years of running the world's largest face-to-face networking organization, is that it's not what you know or who you know. The expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
It's not what you know or who you know, it's how well you know each other that really counts. It's about building those relationships with other people. I think that networking is more about farming than it is about hunting, that it's about cultivating relationships with other business professionals. And that's what we try to teach in both the Referral Institute and BNI, is that it's all about building relationships with people. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. And if people go into it with the VCP process in mind, then they will, in fact, be successful.
Excellent advice. I really appreciate you stopping by today and taking time to spend with our audience. It was great to have you on our program.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm happy to come back anytime.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. You've been listening to Go Mind Your Business. My interview today was with Dr. Ivan Misner, founder of BNI. Again, if you're looking to grow your business, go check out their website at www.bni.com. You'll be able to find events in your area and chapters to go investigate to see how you can grow your business. So that's www.bni.com. Thanks so much for joining us today. It was great to have you. And until next time, go mind your business. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Go Mind Your Business with Terri Bork, presented by Extreme Marketing Concepts. If you want to drive more traffic, dominate the market, and crush your competition, find out how by visiting our website, www.extrememarketingconcepts.com. And join Terri next time for another episode of Go Mind Your Business.